Alright, I'm back. I got my buddy Chase Prolock here with me, and he's sporting one of my new shirts, so we're kind of matching today with our shirts. But anyway, so I told you I was going to give you kind of a walk around of the car so you can see the engine and the interior and stuff before we rip it all apart and take it out. So anyway, so here we go. I'm going to show you around, and I guess we'll start with the engine first. Alright, so let's flip this around. Okay, so here is the engine, and just to get the specs right, it's the Coyote Illuminator 5.0 motor, and so basically for it being a Illuminator motor, it's one of Ford's crate motors, so it has, you know, slightly better components in it than your stock average Coyote motors in a like say a Mustang or something like that. So you have like a forged crank, and you have better, you know, H-beam connecting rods. Everything's polished, and you know, you have better valve trains and springs, things like that. And then on this particular one, we added the MMR titanium valve springs for to handle over 8,500 RPMs, things like that. So the intake is the stock intake. Since it's a boost car, there's really no need to run any kind of you know, high flow intake or anything like that, just because it's all under boost. So as we look around, you can see the twin turbo setups, and these are precision full ball bearing twin turbos, and they I believe are the 64/67 millimeter turbos, I believe, something like that. I can't remember, but I know it's close to that. So we have them mounted like this. Some people, you know, have commented before that it's hard to change our air cleaners, but there's a ton of room to get around these pipes and change out the air cleaners. I don't really like those air cleaners, and we're probably going to run like a tube that comes and merges together underneath this main tube, and then goes to a much larger air cleaner setup that's more out of the way and just looks better. So that's kind of how that setup is. And then we have, you know, our exhaust is mounted over here. Let's see. So you can see our exhaust headers come up forward, and then they merge into and underneath, I don't know, underneath the output pipe, and then they come in over here, and we go into the turbo, spin the turbo, go around, and then the exhaust comes out, and then it goes right over and exits, and then goes down way underneath the car, and it's kind of all heat wrapped and very tight fit through all of this. And then this is our wastegate that you know, handles our boost pressure. We have it running to a solenoid that's controlled by, oh, what is it? What is the solenoid? Yeah, so it's. So I'm gonna go in here into our interior, and our interior is all taken out right now as far as our dash goes. So we have a Eco 2 by Turbo Smart boost controller, and you can kind of set it up either by boost by gear or boost by RPM. You can set up multiple, like 5 to 7 stages of boost control. This is kind of what most people run. You know, they either run, you know, some version of this, but this is what we have on it, and it's set to run off the RPM right now because we don't have a boost by gear solenoid, or not solenoid, but whatever. What am I trying to think of? The sensors to be able to take which gear it's in. So anyway, so that's pretty much it as far as the turbo setup. You know, it's pretty simplified. Everything's real low to the ground, and we're actually going to end up lowering the motor even further into the car, try to get another 2 inches of lowering on the engine, and then the turbos will probably stay pretty much close to where they're at. They are actually pretty far from the hood, and from all the testing and driving that we've done, we haven't noticed any heat issues. Now we do have like a heat blanket that goes over this, and I think I've probably shown that in some other videos and stuff. This is our intercooler, and it's a single intercooler, but it's got 2 inputs, and then it forces the air up and then through this channel, this is where our mass airflow sensor is, and then that comes through, and then it goes into the intake. So this system was initially bought by or from Helion, who had put this kit together as a 1300 horsepower setup for a Mustang on a stock motor, and then I took it and just hacked it all up to make it a forward mount turbo setup and to kind of fit, you know, this car. And you know, going forward, it probably won't be a Helion system from, you know, it'll probably be our own setup, but you know, it was just, we just wanted to get a system that we knew that would work right out of the box basically for this specific engine. And didn't, you know, since we were trying to make it to SEMA back in 2013 under such a tight, you know, deadline, we needed something that was, you know, quick and easy to install and that we knew was already tested and worked. So this worked out pretty well for us. But I think in, you know, going forward in the future, we're going to probably swap out the air, you know, to air intercooler and put a air to water intercooler setup. We'll be able to run a little bit smaller system, and we'll end up with a cooler intake charge, and we'll be able to control the temperature and stuff like that. So anyway, so just kind of give you an idea of, you know, what we have going on. So I know a lot of you guys haven't really seen the engine stuff up close. So I'm just kind of going over a few things before we start taking some of the stuff apart, because right now, as I said in my last video, it's going to go through some changes, both on external design changes, and then we're going to do some internal changes as far as some of the structural components like the chassis and roll cage and things like that. So there's a lot that's going to be going on, but I figured you guys need to see exactly what it looks like before all that happens, so we can compare the differences afterwards. So this is our electric shocks, and they're pretty small. They have an external chamber. I don't know if you can see that down there. It's all dirty right now, but there's also a hydraulic lift on it too, which is right there. And I don't know if you can really see that or not, but basically you can control this whole system via a Bluetooth connection to your phone, and you can preset your corner balance settings, and you can set up your anti-dive, and you can control how the rebound and compression of the shocks react to the forces of the car. So it has like a G meter type deal inside of, you know, part of the electronics of this, and it will adjust the car and keep it from leaning, and it really works really nice. I mean, as far as we tested on a track, it made a huge, you know, difference from anything I've experienced before, and you can definitely tell how quickly it responds. So this system is done by Haneke Vehicle Technologies, and so they're located, you know, near us, and they're local, which is nice for support. And this is kind of an experimental system, and they don't really, it's not something you can just go to their site and get, but so we're kind of a test dummy for them, and I hope to continue working with them in the future with you know, making some additional changes and adding some other components and features to it, and working with the app that's on the phone, which is really kind of in its alpha stage. So anyway, it's a pretty nice little setup. We're going to end up making some adjustments to the shock because they're a little bit, you know, not positioned where I want them exactly, just because we had to make some last minute changes to the car, and so they're kind of bound up a little bit, but they didn't really seem to affect the performance that we could tell, so they're not too bad. So anyway, so that's that, and then way up inside there, we finally got the electric steering, which is called an E-Pass setup, and that took like a year to really figure out the wiring and get that working with our system, because we're running for our computer, which is mounted right there. That is the Ford racing computer, and it's not the standard computer that's in like a Mustang or anything like that. So it definitely is a little trickier to work with and a little trickier to program for the turbos and for the ignition system, or not ignition, but the fuel system. So and then on our fuel injectors, we're running the ID 1000 injectors, which are underneath the intake. Just trying to go over some of the things that we have that you guys may be interested in. This little cylinder right here that you see hanging off goes to the suspension, or to the shocks, and so that's the component that actually raises and lowers the car. So you have about a 1-inch lift that you can raise and lower the car, and you can kind of dynamically control how much the car's, what the stance is like before you go out and race it. And it's not really something that you see on like Lamborghinis, where if you need to go over a bump you can raise and lower the car. It's not really designed for that. It's more for race applications and performance. So other than that, we're running standard brakes, brake booster. We do have our Brembo. I think these are 14, a little bit over 14.5-inch brakes, which I don't know. There it goes. I zoomed in. Sorry about that. And so they're pretty big brakes, but the next setup that we're going to go with are going to be 15-inch brake calipers, and then we'll run almost 14 in the back. So as you can see, our interior, our dash, I've taken it out, and it's over on the floor, and I showed that in the last video, but we are going to change that quite a bit to a little bit more of a nostalgic style, with different gauges and kind of a round gauge cluster rather than a digital gauge cluster. We may offer both options in the future, but for now I'd like to try the other way. So this is the interior. A lot of people have asked to see the seats and interior, and we have our headrest up here, or not headrest, but our headliner, and it's all leather, and then we have it two-toned with a stripe that matches, so it's kind of Porsche black leather, and then we have this brown leather with our logo stitched into it, and then we have like the diamond pattern stitched into the seats. These were some seats that we had purchased that were some race seats that then they Austin Interior, who did a really great job at doing the work on the seats in a very quick amount of time. Did a good job at stitching everything really quickly for us. The padding in the seat is a little thick, so that's really the only downside to part of this, is we need to reduce the padding in it, but we're going to probably end up swapping out to a different seat style anyway, and then this transmission tunnel is going to end up shrinking quite a bit and give us a little bit more interior space. So some of the big things that we're doing to the car that me and Chase will do will be to we're going to raise the whole body of the car about 2 more inches, and then we're going to lower the entire bottom of the car. We're going to end up adding material to lower the car body, I don't know what you call it, but the body, what do you call that, the valance, or the body whatever. So basically I'll just show you. So the body here down at the bottom is going to end up having 2 more inches added to it as we raise the car up. So what that's going to do is give us 2 inches of head clearance inside the car, and then we're going to end up really lowering the car down, while at the same time, because these fender wells were basically designed for 18-inch wheels and a little bit smaller of a tire, we're going to end up increasing the wheel well opening to fit a more standard 19-inch wheel and tire setup, so that we have a little bit more clearance. We didn't have any rubbing issues with this, but I'd like to lower the car a little bit. It's a little higher than what I'd like, so in order to do that, we're going to need to open up the wheel wells and just rework that area a tad. So that's pretty much, all part of the design process and the testing and everything. So, now we've tested it, we've run it on the track, we've seen what rubs and what hits, and really we're not really experiencing any of those issues, but we're seeing where there are some tight fitting things, and to think ahead for the future, and to kind of pre-think about what other people will end up wanting to put on the car. I'd like to open up those fender wells so that people can run drag radials and things like that, so that we can put launch control and really get some really good Texas mile runs and get really good traction out of the car, because we have so much power we're going to need a better drag radial slick in the back for that launch control stuff, because these tires, although they're wide and they're the Pirelli P0s, they are, you know, a lot harder compound and you know, firmer tire due to the sidewall thickness and everything, that they just don't hook up as well. So they're probably a great high-speed tire, but I'd like to see everything on 18-inch wheel from Forge Line, and then a little bit stickier tire. So anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. You can see the interior on the other side, and we have a really short throw shifter with the Tremec Magnum T56 transmission, and you can see all the nasty wiring in there, which isn't actually all that bad. And then in the back you can see our shocks, which I don't know, I had the light on the camera, so if I block it, well, that doesn't help. So I guess it's the light on the ceiling that's getting in the way. But so we have the same suspension in the back that's electronic, but it's in a push rod configuration, which is what I wanted to do in the front too. So we may go back to that. It just kind of depends on what all we can kind of fit and where we can place things. So right now the big focus is to get the body set up correctly and to get all the modifications done on the body, and then we're going to move to the chassis and get the roll cage finished out for the interior, so that we can really kind of turn this into a proper race car. So right now it's in its street car form, and I think I want to take it to a race car form. So we're going to put a simplified interior in it, and we're going to really get it to where it's more of a race car, so that we can shake it down a lot harder than we did over the last you know, the last month or whenever that was, that we did all the testing at Motorsport Ranch. So so we're going to do that, and then just keep on, and we're going to end up pulling the wrap off the car. So that may happen here really soon, and I hate to see it go away, but we really need to do a lot more body work to it, so it's going to have to come off, and then we'll get it rewrapped. We had guys at I think it was 360 Wrap that did a great job at wrapping this car and the white car, and we're also talking to our buddies over at Speed Shield about doing the next wrap job, and maybe 362. We don't know. We may have them both do something. So it just depends when we get to that point. But we still have a lot of body work to do before we get there. And then in some of the renderings, we're going to end up changing out the back end, and it's not going to change too much. We're basically going to move the exhaust from the center section, which is right there, and we're going to take the center exhaust, and we're going to make dual pipes come out on the side. And what that's going to do is allow us to run a bigger muffler, and just also run multiple brands of mufflers a little bit easier. My camera's out of focus. So, and then also we're going to run a different diffuser in the back. So that's, you know, going to simplify some things and allow us to run a little bit better airflow throughout the back, and allow us to have a little bit more room for the exhaust setup, because right now the mufflers and the exhaust all back up into the differential area in the rear end and all the independent suspension stuff. So if we put a turn there and run mufflers kind of this way, then we can experiment with different variety, you know, and see what kind of sound we can get, and see what, you know, which offer any kind of performance. I think they'll all probably perform just as, you know, well as any other ones. So really it's kind of a sound that we're going after. Other than that, you know, just going to keep working on the car, and I plan on keeping you guys updated as we go, and I'll try to do some more time-lapse stuff. So this video is getting to be almost 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop it here, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, so I'll see you guys later. Say bye.
Bye.